I'm sitting here with Gary, who's our Reventon senior accountant and partner. Gary, hi, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And Jin and Maria as well. We're going to be talking about tax, how clients can save money, finance, what are some of the things we're seeing with our clients at the moment, and yeah, any way we can save money. Gary, what are you seeing with our current client base at the moment?
Yes, so with the current client database at the moment, I'm seeing that their ATO is really chasing for clients to be really on top of things, such as on the tax payment debt, um, on the lodgement of the activity statement, lodgement of tax returns. They're really chasing these taxpayers to be on top of things, lodge it on time, not only just for the tax return and activity statement, but also on the superannuation payment as well, which is very important for our business clients. Um, and in terms of the payroll tax, which is another compliance that business clients have when they pay um, salary above 750,000 in Victoria, they need to be paying payroll tax as well. And State Revenue Office has been really chasing people to actually lodge it on time, lodge all the payroll tax on time on monthly basis or annual basis, pay it on time as well. If not, penalty and interest charges are going to be charged.
So basically, the ATO, they're really taxing down on people, making sure that they've got all their affairs in order when it comes to their taxes, their superannuations, and all things like that. So having a great accountant that's prompt with lodging all these things is important. And in most cases, we're hoping now for our clients, certainly they're getting a big tax refund because they're buying a lot of new investment properties, so they have a lot of tax efficiencies. But for people out there that don't have properties, looking at ways they can save money through what's tax deductible is so important also, isn't it?
It is very important, and I think it's really important for taxpayers or clients to have a really good accountant that is proactive in terms of asking questions. Hey, have you done this? Have you have any expenses during the year on this matters or that matters in different items? And that way you'll be able to minimize your tax by maximizing your tax deduction.
Of course. So it's very, very important to have a very good accountant that understands where those tax efficiencies can be gained, making sure you're up to date with all your commitments, and obviously lodging all your taxes. Now, Jim, you see everything because you're in accounts as well and you're very familiar with finance. What are some of the tips you can advise our people watching and all of our clients as well on how to potentially look out for certain things or save money or whatever that may be?
As you mentioned, some people who don't have property. So people who are buying their house for the first time, they can take advantage of the first home super saver scheme, wherein you can actually save a lot of money in tax. At the same time, when you are actually lodging your tax return, there are a couple of things that they can take advantage of. So for example, if for FHSS scheme, you apply for the release of the funds in May 2024, but you actually get the funds in 2024 August. You actually have to apply for the payment summary, and you need to submit to your accountant in that current financial year. That way, you will maximize your returns for the current financial year. So that's one of the important things for the first home owners.
So basically, timing of that. And it all comes down, even what we said with Gary, it's coming down with having the right knowledge to ask those questions, or even more importantly, something that we're big advocates of here at Reventon is having the right professionals and understand exactly what you can and can't do, to ask the right questions, to put the right paperwork in to maximize your tax efficiencies. What else are you seeing that you feel that some people can benefit through listening through this?
I think one of the things Carrie was mentioning as well is having a right tax accountant and meeting your deadlines. So any tax advice you get from your tax agent is actually tax deductible. So ensure you include that in your tax returns as well.
So basically, the advice taken, that's a very, very good point. So professional service, in most cases, and advice is tax deductible. It always pays to get good advice. And I always say to people as well, the cheapest advice is usually the most expensive. Free advice is the most expensive. What I mean by that statement is usually they're not as informed as people that actually understand how things work. So it's not about the cost of, my dad you always used to tell me, pay people to give you good advice to be able to maximize your tax efficiencies or build your wealth. So having the right team is so, so important.
Agreed 100% on that, Chris.
Now, Maria, you're one of our senior brokers here. What are you seeing with our current client base, or what sort of ideas or things can you share for people to look out for?
I think from a finance perspective, so someone that's looking to get a loan for any purpose, own a rock or even investment, one of the biggest things I see just going into the new tax year is how your income statement and what you've earned last year actually impacts how much a lender would allow you to borrow. What I mean by that is people that are often in jobs that have one or two job streams or income streams that do a lot of overtime, a lot of get bonuses and a lot of extra payments over and above their base pay. It's all added in and it's part of your income statement. And in the first 3 months of the financial year, a lender will actually look at what's already earned. So that can be a really big benefit because if you're in the new financial year, they don't actually annualize your income until we cross over into October. So the first 3 months is very critical. And so if I can pick up your income statement for last year and you've actually earned, your base is 100K, but you've earned 150K, that's an extra 50K effectively a lender would use to service a loan.
Which is massive for
Therefore,
serviceability.
yeah, absolutely. Increases your borrowing capacity as well. So that's one of the things that we use to leverage borrowing capacities in certain industries, like, people that work as nurses and transportation, where they do a lot of overtime and a lot of those.
Construction,
Absolutely. All those industries that actually have a lot of allowances.
hospitality.
Yep, absolutely. So there is a lot of things that we can do in the first 3 months. So anyone that's been told by their broker or banks that, look, you don't have enough borrowing capacity, now's probably a really good time to have that reassessed. Have a look and see what you can do in the first 3 months to try and give yourself a little bit of a boost to get a bit more money.
It makes so much sense, but all three things that we've spoken about here with all of you, it comes down to having that knowledge to understand what to do, how to do, and having a professional that does it every day. It's so important. And I think nothing subsidizes experience. Going to a professional person that's done this thousands and thousands of time, that deals with a lot of clients, because they will have a vast array of different situations where they can draw their memory from and draw to that. So what other things are you seeing out there, Maria, with our current clients?
At the moment, what I'm seeing a lot of, Chris, is people trying to get the max out of their borrowing capacity and not just leaning on their individual circumstances, so borrowing their personal names. We're starting to do a lot of self-managed super fund buying properties through their self-managed super fund and lending for that purpose. It's becoming increasingly popular because obviously interest rates are a lot higher than where they used to be, 18 months ago. So people are getting a little bit more capped out in their personal borrowings. So self-managed super fund is a really, really good avenue for clients that want to get into property, especially with property prices, going up so quickly. And we've managed to do that really, really well with a lot of customers. We obviously have access to putting clients in touch with advisors like Gary to get consultations about what options they have, our financial planning team as well. And we can actually leverage. So I think diversifying a little bit or changing your thought process in, trying to get properties just in your personal names and making it a bit more of a broader choice to go into that self-managed super fund space as well.
And I think it's very, very important to note, self-managed super fund, you need to go to a licensed financial planner.
Yep.
They can give you a statement of advice to making sure that it is the right product for you. At Reventon, we want to make sure that you have a very, very healthy super balance, because we want to consider everything. It is a great product, but it's an expensive product, and it's very, very important. Maria's not a financial planner. I'm not a financial planner, that you speak to a licensed expert, whether it be tax, which would be someone like Gary, or a financial planner that can give you all those details. But I will say to you, please make sure you have a healthy super balance and everything's been considered. And it would come back to going to someone that's been doing this for a very long time and has a good track record, that understands exactly how the self-managed super fund space works and can give you the right advice. So Gary,
Yes.
again, back to you. What is there anything else people can look for to maybe save a couple dollars in their tax?
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to touch on the capital gains tax side of things, which is, I think it's a big thing for quite a lot of our clients, because most of them actually have investment properties, and we have been doing really well with the property side of things, where they actually have a good capital growth on their investment properties. What they want to do now is they want to sell it and then capitalize on that gain, to either pay for some of the mortgage, home mortgage, or something like that. So I get a lot of questions from the client in terms of how can we minimize the tax side of things from the capital gains. And one of the most common thing that people do, but not many people know about it, usually accountants and financial planners suggested about this, is do a super contribution. Do a super contribution into your superannuation and claim it as a tax deduction. Yes, you can actually do a lump sum um, within a financial year from your personal bank account directly to your superannuation account, and we can actually claim it in the tax return.
So just in summary, what Gary's saying, you can make additional super contributions and you'll be taxed at a lower rate. So it's like a forced saving. So you can advise your client to put money into their super, and obviously if their net disposable income's high enough to be able to use this strategy, so it's important you speak to someone, you'll be paying a less tax rate and you can put that in your super. And by doing that, you're actually increasing your super fund balance, which you can look at things like self-managed super funds and things along those lines. So that's actually a very, very good tip as well, to look at what options you have in your super. And further on to that, Jim, anything else you can add?
One thing I actually want to say, hearing Maria and Gary, was regarding the timing of July, June. Obviously, it's a very busy time for everybody in tax, but also outside of the tax bracket, one thing that I do want to stress enough with people is this is a great time to negotiate everything. Every supplier that you have, every personal expense that you have, ensure that you are maximizing your saving by negotiating or renegotiating your contract. It's always a good practice to be on top of these things. And July is a very good time because a lot of retailers, suppliers are very open to these side as well. And one of the things that we do at Reventon in terms of when buying properties is we offer great buyer's advocacy and investment packs. These actually maximize your value propositions in terms of buying properties. I feel that is a very important part of anybody buying their houses, or outside of that, any supplier that you want to negotiate as an employer or an employee or your personal business.
Look, I smiled because I know that Jin's going through all of our contracts, memorandums of understanding, and he's actually renegotiating terms and things like that. And $1 saved is like $3 earned. By the time you consider paying tax and living, every dollar you can save means $3 additional dollars. That's going from your taxable income. So it's a big, big thing to look at every dollar. And sometimes people just set and forget. They put a contract in place, they don't revisit it. But it is a very, very good practice to be looking at these things every year. What are my contracts? What are my debtors? How can I save some money? Because every dollar saved, as you mentioned, is crucial.
Absolutely true, Chris.
Maria?
I just thought of something to bring up. Maybe Gary can talk a little bit more about this. Tax variation. A lot of clients that I speak to still don't even know it exists and don't know how to leverage it. So I think, can you maybe explain from your perspective, why it's beneficial for clients to know about?
Yeah, so there are many clients that saying to me that Gary, we have been a bit hard on our cash flow side of things for the family because interest rate is going up since obviously 3 years ago, 2 years ago, which is back in the days it was only like 2-3%. One of the strategy that we can implement for them is actually doing a tax variation. The reason why tax variation is good is because instead of getting the big refund and you wait until you do the tax return, you actually get the tax refund during your pay period. So during the year, instead of, say, for example, you get $4,000 every fortnight in your takeaway home pay, after the tax variation, you're going to get $5,000 because the tax rate has been reduced according to your taxable income after the deduction. So as if we are claiming the deductions already in the tax return.
So basically, a tax variation form, instead of getting your money lump sum, you're getting it periodically as you get paid, whether that be weekly, fortnightly, or monthly. And why it's important to get that money quick, and we always advise our clients through tax variation forms, is because interest is calculated daily, not yearly. So the quicker you have that money in your account sitting, offsetting your interest paid, the more money that's going to save you. So getting a tax variation form is important. But for the model that when you see a check for $4,000, what people tend to do is spend that money. And we've actually started to invest for that reason, to use that tax efficiency to pay off our mortgage. And I want to talk about the point that you mentioned before about clients realizing profit. Now, a lot of our clients get into investment properties to reduce their bad debt to pay off their own home. And as we know, the property has the healthiest tax deductions if it's due within the first 7 years. So if our clients have had properties for 3-4 years, they're getting great tax deductions. They've made a couple $100,000. What they do is they sell it, they pay out all their tax liabilities through creative strategies, but they use that to then pay off their mortgage. And then with that, they go again. They're buying new properties in emerging markets, in emerging areas, and they're getting maximum tax efficiencies again because the properties are new. So we call that the stepping stone project at Reventon. The clients make great money. They sell 1 or 2 properties. They offload their debt again, which is predominantly their own home. And they buy new properties in new areas, in new markets that are going to make even more money. And they start that process again. So once again, speaking to professionals is important because everyone buys a property for a reason. To pay off your mortgage, to live better, to have different lifestyles. Depending on your goals, we'll employ different strategies. So that was a very good point that you shared. And as well with negotiating contracts. Is there anything else you can add to today's conversation, Jim?
One last thing I want to stress enough, as Chris and everybody is mentioning, is having experts. Throughout the day at Reventon, I hear Maria talking to her clients, providing great strategies on their brokerages, and Gary regarding their tax depreciation schedules every time property. And one thing Chris always has just said is $1 saves is $3 earned. So please ensure you talk to experts, you maximize everything you can. Make sure July is a good time for you to just put it in your calendars. Make sure this is the time you talk to everybody, renegotiate your contracts, and make sure every time whatever your taxes are due are paid in time.
Every dollar counts.
Yes.
Maria?
Last tip from me, I guess, is just to to go off what Jin was saying. I think the team that we provide at Reventon is really, really important because convenience, I find right now, is the most important thing for people.
Save
No one's
time.
got time to spend going to individual accountants and brokers and property experts. So I think what we have here at Reventon is a very convenient service that we offer to our clients that most importantly save time. We talk about us being a one-stop shop. We're all experts in what we do. So I think you need to have that within the business, which we do. And we actually talk to each other as well on the client's behalf, which then doesn't have to involve them having to talk to 5 different groups of people, paying 5 different sets of fees to kind of have the same result.
But it also, the best advantage to that is we come up with a strategy and
Yep.
we all work collectively towards that. And
Yep.
as our slogan is build wealth, save time. Now I got in this game a long time ago, almost 25 years ago, to help people make smart investment decisions. So for me, it's very, very important that you go get great advice. Now, would I like you to come to Reventon if you're not a client? Sure. But more importantly, my message is please take action with all the tips that we've shared today. Please save time. Nobody cares about your money more than you. And for me, the reason I got into this game is so people can build their wealth and live better. So please take action and get this good advice and make sure that you're maximizing all your hard-earned dollars. Thank you.